Hello, everybody. Surprise. Is it a surprise? Sounds like it might be a surprise. It's the witching hours. Yay. Episode 10. We're in episode 10. Holy moly. How did we get here? As always, we have the co-host, Jonathan Frost. And today we have special guest John from RVA Paranormal.
How's it going?
Hey, hey.
Glad to be here.
All
All
right.
right. So how's everybody doing out there? We made it to Thursday. So
Yeah. All right, we got
Perfect.
Salty Frogs here. Hey, Salty. And Tiny Moonflower. Yeah. All right. Frost Giant, would you like to start us off with some paranormal news?
yeah, so let's go and get started with the news. So we had a lot last time. I was able to find a couple articles to go into this week. So let's see. First one is the existence. So scientists have said that the existence of the Loch Ness monster is plausible after a new fossil discovery. And so the news from this is essentially a little bit of a false headline, but they have found evidence that some creatures that have kind of been thought to have been what the Loch Ness monster is, like a plesiosaur, were found to be able to live in fresh water. They found fossils of this dinosaur from freshwater sources now.
Mm-hmm.
And before, scientists had dismissed the possibility of these of the Loch Ness and freshwater uh, possibilities because they were only thought to be saltwater. So now we know that they were able to live in freshwater. And so the question is, does that lead a little more credibility to maybe having a creature that survived the extinction events?
I think so. Why
Yeah.
not? Why
Hey,
couldn't they
anytime.
have?
Yeah. Got some scientific evidence, so you can put
I
on your side there.
believe in Loch Ness, the Loch Ness monster.
The Loch
So
Ness.
perhaps it is one of the
Yeah.
plesiosaurs. Yes, we're going to be doing ghost hunting stuff, Tiny Moonflower. I hope you're
Yeah.
excited. Hello, Fable Forest. And Wanderer's here. And
Excellent.
CMC Air Boss. Hey. And Emily. Hola. Our friend from España. We're just watching a movie that had Barcelona in it. I was thinking about you. What's your second
Yeah.
story this evening?
So we kind of keep going on this stuff that's coming out of the Pentagon and the Congress, the sessions they had last spring, where they are dealing with this new UFO era as we usher in this kind of new UFO era. And of course, they're not calling them UFOs anymore. They're calling them, what is it? It's in the article. I always forget because I've called them UFOs my whole life. So, Pentagon renames UFO office and expands missions to include trans-medium objects. So,
What does
after
that
only eight
mean?
months, well, we'll get there. After only 8 months of existence, the Pentagon's office tasked with investigating and tracking UFOs or unidentified aerial phenomenon. There you go.
Yes.
UAPs. Is what we're
Yes.
calling them now.
CMC Air Boss just told us. UAPs.
There we go. UAPs. That's right. We'll look beyond the stars for objects of interest. On Wednesday, the Pentagon announced that it renamed and expanded the authority of the government's chief UFO office, formerly known as the Airborne Object Identification and Management Group. The office will now be known as the All Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, or the AARO. With the new name comes increased responsibilities, the Defense Department said in a statement. While the group was mostly focused on airborne threats in space, the renamed office will also look into unidentified objects that are submerged in water or are deemed, here you go, medium, Jenny Lee, trans-medium objects.
It sounds
So
like
all those.
I would be a trans medium object the way that they word it.
So we used to call what they call their like underwater UFOs is like a big thing. A lot of,
Yeah.
especially like a lot of Navy personnel and stuff will have stories about that. So now they're calling them, I guess, because they can go from air to water, then they're trans,
Yes.
and so they're different mediums, I guess, trans medium,
Air and water.
air and water. And the story goes on,
They
but
should
that
have
basically
named it
gives
like
you.
a trans elemental. Wouldn't that have been a better word? An element, water, air,
Well, they used to call them USOs, like unidentified submersive, and
submersives.
then
Yeah,
and then a UFO was flying. But
these are going back
I
and forth.
wonder, I wonder how much of all this renaming of everything, even though like there's like they're being, it seems like they're trying to be more transparent. I wonder if renaming everything is another way to like reset the story, like reset
Mm.
their agenda
Mm-hmm.
to a
Yeah,
certain extent.
probably.
So, but that's interesting because we've had a lot of talk about how the government's showing a kind of renewed interest. This is probably the furthest we've come since Project Blue Book. So,
Yeah.
it's interesting.
I don't like the name that they chose for that, but that's just me.
Yeah. Um, we were talking to John about this right before we got on, but I got another story here from about Bigfoot. Um,
Yeah, I like a
over
Squatch story.
well, last week we had someone who was noodling get murdered by somebody else because they were afraid that they were being left behind to be eaten by Bigfoot. This week we have 50 samples that were taken from UFO researchers who were given to scientists to have them the DNA analyzed.
Live people ignore the
Um,
strange and unusual. I
so they were
myself
able to
am
analyze the DNA on all
strange
50
and unusual.
samples they received. So the results of that was they have 57 hairs from Bigfoot enthusiasts and museums around the world, including samples from Washington, Texas, Oregon, Russia, and India.
Okay. Bigfoot hairs.
Some were as old as 50 years.
Okay.
Some hairs immediately turned out not to be hairs at all, but rather plant or glass fibers.
Yeah.
Some of them were unable, like there wasn't enough DNA in them to have them done. And then there were 30 left after that, and all 30 that were sequenced were all matched the exact 12S RNA sequences for known species. So the team reports online in a paper that 10 hairs belonged to various bear species, 4 were from horses,
Okay.
4 were from wolves or dogs, and 1 was a perfect match to a human hair. And others came from cows, raccoons, deer, and even a porcupine.
Oh, wow.
2 samples from India and Bhutan matched polar bear 12S RNA, a surprising find that they found polar bear DNA in
Polar bear DNA in Bhutan.
in India, yeah.
What the hell?
But
How
so
did
they're
that?
following up
Now I need
determine
to know
whether
about the polar bear in India. How did this happen?
well, the interesting thing is now they're wondering if some bears in the Himalayan mountains are actually like a hybrid species of polar bears.
Yeah. Wow.
So, scientific information, and if you're a Bigfoot fanatic, someone who's kind of into searching for Bigfoot, stuff like this, I don't think is something that dismisses
CMC
the
Airbus
idea.
said imported polar bear skin rugs.
Yeah.
Someone's running through the woods with a polar bear skin rug.
Maybe the Bears just lost. You don't know.
Yeah.
Trying to find his way.
So,
Oh, goodness.
the search is still on.
Yeah.
The search is still on.
Well, that's
And I think-
disappointing.
Yeah. But then again, if they had found Bigfoot, you probably would have heard about it before you got our news here today.
That's true. Yes.
And one last little piece of news that I don't have one here, but I was reading the article today, is that we have all this stuff that's happening with Congress with the UAPs.
Mm-hmm.
NASA has also now said that they are going to start looking for unidentified aerial phenomena.
Oh,
as
NASA
well.
is. They're going to announce
Yes.
that they're looking for it because I'm sure they've
Yeah.
been looking at it for a
Mhm.
long time. Hey, little
So
wing.
we've gone a long way on this. We've gone from
Yeah.
government's interested to government is kind of interested to the government was joking on people who said they saw it to all of a sudden the government's really interested. And again, they have videos pretty much like proving the phenomenon, and they're just like, hey, we don't know what this is.
Yeah. Hi, Linguist. Thank you, Pop Smoke, for the follow. And
that is
paranormal
today's
news.
paranormal news.
Polar bears trying to keep warm in India. Yeah.
Yeah, I know, man. Down there on the Ganges, like doing a little summer float.
Goodness. All right,
All right,
Frost
guys.
Giant, introduce our
Yeah.
guest.
All right, so John and Lynn Harris founded RVA Paranormal in 2017. They are a husband and wife paranormal team who had a common paranormal experiences when they first met and realized they shared a mutual interest in paranormal investigating. Dedicated to what they love and sharing it with the paranormal community, they set out to share the locations and evidence they captured. They blend their skill sets to apply various techniques and unique approaches when exploring the paranormal. In 2019, they started Piercing the Veil, a weekly live stream. They invite special guests, investigators, and share their love for the paranormal and live stream their investigations on location. Joined now by their 18-year-old daughter, Kristen, RVA Paranormal continues to pursue their love of paranormal investigating as a family. John, Lynn, and Kristen have recently joined the Twisted Realm as members of the crew, as well as Haunted Nights Paranormal events and staff. Everybody, welcome to the Witching Hours, John Harris.
Yay, John.
Yeah.
How you doing? Just me tonight.
Yeah.
Lynn's downstairs getting our youngest ready to go back to school in a couple weeks.
Oh, yeah. Fun
Well, we know how that
times.
goes.
Yeah.
We have our oldest is a senior who just started this week, so we're not at the college phase yet, but we're getting to that phase here soon
Yeah.
enough.
Yeah, but thanks for having me on, man. I really appreciate you asking us to come on and share some of our stories with you and participate in the stream.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's
and a
gonna
lot
be
of this came.
awesome.
So we met at a Paracon back at I guess what was the beginning of the summer,
Yeah, it was
and
May.
like the whole time, like we had some conversations, and I wanted to have more conversations, but Medium Jenny Lee was doing readings and stuff, and so it's just, and I was like, man, we got to have them on the show, and I went home and I've checked out some of their investigations on YouTube and stuff like that. So yeah, I think we're in for a fun time tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, we met at Sage Paracon at Belgrade Plantation. MJ Dixon came
Down here, it's our time. It's our time down here.
Her Paracon, Sage from the UK to the US, and it had a great turnout. And vendors were awesome. Met some fantastic folks like yourself. Made some great contacts. We had a lot of other great people there. Supernatural Lost Adventures. They're in the chat now. Pop Smoke. Hey, how's it going?
Hey.
RC77. Hey, appreciate it. But yeah, so yeah, we've been really enjoying the ride, I guess is what you'd say with paranormal. And we have been on the go. I mean, constantly. It seems like we don't ever stop. Like I don't know how the grass gets me. I'm gonna have to buy a goat.
Yeah.
Yeah, excellent.
That's
And
awesome.
so, um, I guess like one of the things I wanted to talk about first, like if we're going to jump into investigations, was one of the first videos I checked out from you, which was your investigation of, I think it was the USS North Carolina.
Mhm.
So I'll put links up in Discord so you guys, if anybody wants to be able to check some of these videos out for sure. But it just seemed like from the moment you guys got there, it was just like action packed from like the moment that video started until the end. So you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, the battleship North Carolina down in Wilmington has been a paranormal hotspot for a while. I think it became very popular back with season one of Ghost Hunters. I think they actually in, investigated that ship and were one of the first ones to investigate the ship, and they've really embraced it since then by allowing folks to come on and investigate the ship for a fee. Um, but yeah, the ship is massive. It saw its share of action in World War II. Also saw its share of death, from killed in actions to natural deaths. And it's a massive place. And our approach to kind of these larger areas is during our initial walkthrough, um, we kind of let these locations tell us where we need to. Where is it going to be most active? Where does it want to interact with us? And that whole video pretty much was just in the sick hall and surgery. That's where we seem to get the most activity. And when I got to editing that, I realized that if I did everything that we captured on the whole ship, it would have been a 3 hour video. So,
Wow. That's
so not
crazy.
good, not good for YouTube. But so we decided to focus primarily on that, and some of the other things that we caught. But yeah, so I mean that was one of the most active um, locations I would say that we've been to right out of the gate. Um, and they just really seem to, the spirits there just seem to really want to talk to you.
Where is that? Where do they have that?
It's in Wilmington, North Carolina, so
Okay.
at the very southeastern tip of
Mm-hmm.
North Carolina. It's actually beautiful. It sits right on the Cape Fear River, directly across from downtown.
Yeah.
So
Wilmington is a beautiful place. Yeah.
Wilmington in itself is a town that's steeped in history,
Yeah.
all the way back to the 18th century. It's got its roots in some piracy.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Hmm. For sure.
America, the battleship North Carolina rests there as well. And they embrace their history there. So there's a lot of historical downtown buildings and things that you can actually tour along with your weekend at the battleship. Um, that they would just sit there and share all of the stories that they have from those old houses and downtown buildings and the waterfront district.
So, what was the coolest thing that happened on the North Carolina?
Wow. Well, outside the paranormal, probably the coolest thing that happened was we got to experience the North Carolina with several other teams that we collaborate with and really work well together. And that's important.
Oh
These
yeah.
places don't come cheap. So,
Mm-hmm.
we got to investigate with FPRI, Fredericksburg, Supernatural, Lost Adventures, Covert Paranormal. Kim Sage was there. Um, but from a paranormal aspect, I would have to. I mean, there was a point in time we were taking a walk of that ship, and this is actually in the video. Um, we were walking around the stern of the ship on the second level, and heard a whistle, heard a bosun whistle that
Yeah.
was captured clear enough on audio and video that we were able to kind of decipher what the note and the command was that they were blowing.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
those kind of things are just so rare. Whenever you can get anything that's uh, you can physically hear with your
Mm-hmm.
ears without the help of a recorder or headphones or a disembodied voice. Those are the things to this day that just really just strike me as some of the best evidence.
Well, you brought that up, and I can remember hearing that when I was watching that video, the bosun's whistle, and that really struck me because well, I'm a Navy brat. My dad's retired Navy. And so as soon as I heard that whistle, I was like, man, I know exactly what that is. And then you say it, and it was just like, okay, I wasn't just hearing that then. And it was like, wow, like I heard that right off the bat. And it was just one of those things where like, man, who in the heck, no one's walking around there with a bosun's whistle, you know what I mean?
No, and we even went to. Of course, there is someone that stays on the ship with you, and they're very good about locking themselves up and keeping away out of your way, if you will. But we even walked up to them and asked them, like, "Are you piping any type of like music or just anything to kind of set the immersion for the tours?" And he's like, "No, we cut all that stuff off with the lights," he said, "and we don't play any type of bows and whistles or calls or anything." So the only thing we play throughout the ship is maybe like some 40s or 50s big band era music, but we're not playing anything like bows and calls or anything of the sort.
Yeah.
CMC Airboss wanted to know what was the command that the whistle indicated.
So it was the give way command, or which is associated with preparing to the way I understand it in studying it, it's not a common call. But it was the give way command for the anchor.
Hmm.
Oh. Huh. That's
Yeah,
weird.
and I mean, if it was something common like you hear on the movies, but I was like, my dad was a Navy guy too, right? Uh,
Okay. Yeah.
so and I grew up watching like you know um, all the Navy movies, Tora, and all of those. So I kind of have heard a lot of the more common ones, but when I heard it, I'm like, I've never heard that before. So I actually had to dig in and look and find like the calls themselves. And the way I ended up finding that was I actually just typed in what I heard, which was the sharp up and the warble down for 2 seconds. And as soon as I typed that in the interwebs, that's the first thing that came up. So I
Okay.
actually found a recording where somebody blew that call, and I was like, yeah,
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah, that'll make the hair stand up on the back of your neck.
Yeah.
yeah. But all night long in that ship, where we heard what sounded like the door slamming shut um, between the sections of the ship. What they're called escapes me right now. Sorry, all the Navy people. But when we went out and looked, all those doors are secured, um, either welded open or chained open so that nobody can close them
Oh yeah.
for them to close themselves. So there's absolutely no way that that could have been one of the bulkhead doors. That's what I'm thinking of.
Mm-hmm.
Closing, but it was loud enough that I mean, you could actually, you could plainly hear it, and we heard it several times that night. So one of the most impressive things about that investigation was not just the interaction that we received, but also while you're walking around the ship, the residual activity of that bosun call, the doors slamming, things like that
Mhm.
that aren't really associated with an intelligent spirit
Mm-hmm.
or haunting, but just a replay of time of things that frequently occurred on board that ship.
Yeah. CMC Airboss said that that particular one means stand clear of the anchor chain
There you go.
and the forecastle. And then Bree Marie has a question. What are the most haunted places you would recommend?
Oh, um, thanks for that information. I did know it had something to do with the anchor itself, but as far as the most haunted places that I would recommend, I guess it depends on where you've been. And where you're from. We've been fortunate enough to go to a lot of states. We've been to Tennessee, Ohio, New York, North Carolina, New Jersey, here in Virginia themselves. But some of the, um, I guess, from a location that you could potentially go to and investigate for a fee or rent the location and do a private overnight. One of my all-time favorites has always been St. Albans Sanatorium in Radford, Virginia. The history of that location and the amount of activity that we get when we go, and we've been there, 8 to 10 times, and we always leave astounded. But us being RVA from Richmond, Virginia, um, we've got so many battlefields, both Civil
Mm-hmm.
War and Revolutionary War.
Yeah.
We have a great time. Just those are free locations that are outdoors, that are at your disposal to walk and hike and tour. And we love to walk around those with a voice recorder and a K2 and get absolutely fantastic things. And yes, even during the day,
Yeah.
uh, they seem to be more active on the battlefields during the day, actually.
Yeah. Doesn't always have to be at nighttime.
Ooh.
Then
Yeah.
Bree had another question. What's the craziest experience you've ever encountered?
Oh man, good questions. As crazy as it kind of sounds, Being scratched is always fun.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Uh,
I have been, so just as a little background, because I don't know how much we talked to you about this before either, but Medium Jenny Lee and I were part of a paranormal investigation group for a little while here in our area. So it's called the Madison Area Paranormal, and quite we did some investigations. We were kind of getting going with the group, and then COVID kind of happened, and
Mm-hmm.
we started doing different things. But I just in that short period of time, I was able to see quite a few things for myself. But I have never been been scratched, so I can't imagine what that must feel like. So
it's
please continue.
the one time that I think I've been scratched that I can ultimately remember myself. I equated it. It was across my arm right here, right at the bend. And I was sitting in a doorway holding a camera, filming, and my arm was over the threshold, and something walked through that door at the time, and I equate it with like a single strand of a jellyfish being dragged across my arm right here. It
Mm.
was just, a severe, intense pain, very sharp, and it lingered. And it did actually leave a mark. Um,
Was it
but
like a burning?
it burned. Yeah. Uh,
Wow.
Mm.
but not like a heat burn. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it was a single mark. Now, Lynn has had an issue where she was scratched on a location that we were doing. Uh, there was a younger boy we were on a tour. We were just on a walking tour uh, um, of a location, and we were up in the attic. And there was a 14 or 15-year-old boy walking in front of Lynn, and they both reacted at the same time. He said "ouch" and jumped, and then Lynn said "ouch" like a half a second after. And come to find out that Lynn had a scratch on her leg, and the child had a scratch on his arm. That when they stood side by side, the scratch lined up. So whatever it was got both of them,
Oh, wow.
Wow.
which is crazy.
Yeah.
And it's crazy to sit here and say that being scratched is like exciting. It's terrifying the first time it
Yeah.
happens because you don't know what to expect. And you look down and there are marks that weren't there that are the result of something that was interacting with you. Um, your mind kind of tells you, okay, what are you going to do? Are you going to run? Or are you going
Yeah.
to stay and fight? It's
Fight and
that fight.
fight or flight. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, and my kind of approach to it is, I don't think anything that is is meant to do you harm, and we don't know what they're doing. And I always tell people I equate it with kind of like the scene in Ghost where Patrick Swayze's trying to kick the can on the subway, right? He's
Mm-hmm.
trying to kick the can. The can won't move, and he's giving everything he's got. And then as soon as he focuses and gets that energy, he kicks the can, and man, that can flies. So we don't know how much energy or concentration it takes to be able to tap you or to push you or
Mm-hmm.
to scratch you. And we don't know if they're just trying to get your attention. Like
Yeah.
if it's just like, hey, I'm here, here's a scratch, or if it's malicious. But I would feel like if it really didn't want you there and wanted to be malicious, it it could.
Mm-hmm.
But I've never felt that way. Um, on any investigation where I really felt like I was in a whole lot of danger. I have situations where I didn't necessarily want to be there, but Spirit was telling me you shouldn't be here, and you as an investigator, well, you need to realize that
Yeah.
and kind of
Yeah.
respect that space when you know that they don't want to be there and take off. But outside of that, we did hear a little girl singing one time um, with a disembodied voice. She actually sang the Peekaboo song, like Peekaboo,
Oh
I
my
see,
goodness.
and
Wow.
it was experienced by 4 or 5 other people, and that was early on in our investigating career, and I'm like, man, what else you got? What else can you do? So
Yeah.
If
things,
there's
things
if
like that
there's
kind of
anything that unnerves me, it is um, investigations that reveal evidence of child ghosts. And and I think there's a mixture of that. Of first of all, the empathy you have for the child, but then also the connection of like, is it really a child?
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah. So and like how so the whole kind of aspect of that, and I don't know how you feel about that, but that's
Yeah,
always something that just kind of
yeah. Let me. I'll kind of catch that. Let me catch up on some of Bree's stuff here. What about Arizona? I've never been to Arizona, but the Wild West, crazy. I would say any
yeah.
old ghost town. I would give my right arm to go to a ghost town from the
Mhm.
West and investigate. Um, Salem's kind of funny about their paranormal. They don't really like it. So when
Mm-hmm.
you go to Salem and you start going around, you have to kind of be careful and not really project what you're doing. Because they will literally tell
Yeah.
you, oh, you need to go here, and then you go to that place and they're like, you need to go there, and the next thing you know, you're not in
Yeah.
Salem.
And
So,
I will say this. I will say this, John. For the I don't know because once again, like we talked that day, we talked a little bit, but I can't remember what we've discussed previously. But I'm a history guy. I have my master's in history, and I teach high school and college level history. And so, for me, being like a history guy who's also into the paranormal, the witch trials in Salem have always kind of been a sweet spot for me. Um, I've always been super interested in that, and I'm terrified of witches. So I
But
married
then
one, I
you
guess.
married one, so what were you thinking?
So,
in
but
case
we
you
got
figured
to,
it on.
yeah. So we got to go to Salem. I had some family move up that way, and we were able to go up there not this previous summer, but the one before. And we went to Salem, and I've always been very like really excited to visit Salem. And I hate to say it because I don't know if this is the right word, but I was kind of disappointed to a certain extent of what I thought Salem was and kind of what it kind of is now as far as like a tourist
Yeah.
attraction.
Yeah,
Um,
it's very rare, very few places that actually will take you back to that. And knowing a couple people that are from Salem, the Salem area that used to live there, I mean, they'll tell you it's wicked haunted. If you just got to know where to
They will
go.
I know
literally
where to go.
tell you it's wicked haunted.
It's wicked haunted, yeah.
Wicked
And
haunted.
I think part of that's us being all of us from Virginia. We have Williamsburg and Jamestown, and we have all
Hmm.
of these places that are like still kind of kept. I mean, they're tourist places, but there's still like this authenticity to it that.
Hmm.
uh, And like I said, I was there for what? We were there for like maybe 2 hours.
Yeah,
So
we
I'm
weren't
not
there
like
very
passing
long.
judgment on Salem. There's a lot more we could do there. And it was interesting. But like my first reaction was like, yeah, this isn't Williamsburg. That's, that's
Yeah.
for sure.
This
Yeah.
is a city with like
Yeah.
an old cemetery in it. And
Yeah.
then maybe there's some couple buildings left over, like spread out all over the place. Yeah.
Yeah. CMC Air Boss. Yeah. On it's weird you would mention the USS Salem. My dad actually served on the USS Des Moines, the 133, so the Salem's sister ship, and the Salem has always been one of those ships I've wanted to go to, but I've never actually had an opportunity to go up there.
Heavy
Um,
cruiser. Hmm.
Heavy cruiser, heavy, big, heavy cruiser. Um, but yeah, getting back to the child thing, I think coming back over, as we started out early on, and of course, me and Lynn have been doing this together now for over, 14 years. And we've been lucky enough to work with some really great teams and some well-known folks. And we take something away from everyone that we investigate with, and that's one of the great things about putting yourself out there and listening and keeping an open mind about investigating is everyone has something to offer.
Hmm.
Um, and then kind of taking that and doing with it what you will, not necessarily copycatting it, but keeping a fresh outlook. Going into a lot of private investigations, it's one of the more common things that you hear. And on a couple of occasions, we've had spirits acting um, as something they weren't.
Hmm.
And we've almost kind of developed a way to trick them. Um, So one of the teams we was on, they were doing it, and we kept asking the same question over and over again. How old are you? How old are you? How old are you? And every time we get the same response in a little girl's voice, except for you know, except for one time we said, tell me again how old you are, and finally went, I'm 4.
Oh, good
Like
lord.
it was kind of like one of those flip moments. And then we had one that was acting as if it was a girl, a young girl, using a different name, and we actually aggravated it enough and kept saying the female name, the girl's name over and over and over again, and finally it said, "I'm Kevin." Just it's like we almost aggravated enough. It was like, okay, you win. I'm
Yeah.
not this person. I'm Kevin.
Damn
So,
you, Kevin.
but that's what you go into when you do these private investigations. It's never you never want to leave a private investigation with someone's left more uneasy they are when you before you get there.
Yeah, for sure.
And you really want to debunk and dispel a lot of things that you can, especially if you can explain them. Um, but working with them, even if you've got something that's not, our most recent one was one where we had to teach them how to kind of cope with it. It's like, look, this isn't going anywhere. You're gonna have to leave, or you're gonna have to learn to kind of cope with this. And they did. They kind of embraced it. They set some boundaries, some guidelines, and funny enough, bought a couple of pieces of equipment, and now they sit in the living room at night and play touch the cat ball. I mean, they get along great. So
Wow.
Well, John, we have a lot of questions coming up in here, but before we move forward, because I usually like to start at the beginning, and I push this ahead. So real quick, we talked about how long you've been investigating. Like, where did that come from? How did that all start, and what got you interested in ghost hunting and the paranormal?
um, well, let's see. Me and Lynn have been married for 25 years, going on 25 years.
Nice.
Um,
Congratulations.
and about 14 or 15 years ago, we started watching the all the TV shows that were coming off,
Yeah.
the ghost hunters and things like that, and we were really intrigued. We actually had our own paranormal experience with a family member who took his own life. It's on my side of the family, actually.
I'm sorry.
And he followed us for 6 months. And little things that were happening that we couldn't explain, and we're like, oh, it's got to be him. It's got to be him. And then it was confirmed by a psychic. Yeah, it is. And he's just making sure that everybody's good with, he feels terrible for what he did, and he wants to make sure everyone forgives him. And once everyone in the family we actually got together and talked about it as a family. Like, look, as we were talking about it, 5 or 6 people in the family were having the exact same smells and things go on with them. So it's a little bit of a relief for the family to realize that this is going on with me, not just with them, but with all of us.
Yeah.
And we all just kind of sat there and gave forgiveness, and then it slowly kind of dissipated. But that followed us around for 6 months. Really weird stuff. He was really good at getting our attention. Um, we were watching Ghost Hunters one day, and we were like, they were actually doing a group investigation at the USS Battleship North Carolina in Wilmington, where you could go down there and spend the night with the Ghost Hunters for $150.
Yeah.
and we looked it up, and I was like, man, that is so expensive for the two of us. That's going to be
Mm-hmm.
like $300
Yeah.
plus gas. I said we should just buy our own equipment and do it ourselves. And Lynn looked at me. She's like, "Are you serious?" And I'm like, "Yeah." So we took that money and we went out and bought our own gear, and we started going to battlefields in and around Virginia and North Carolina, and going to some of the smaller events and ghost tours and things like that. And it quickly uh, evolved. We actually went to a very popular place here called Hanover Tavern in Hanover, Virginia. It was an 18th century tavern on the stage road, that happened to have some ties to the Civil War as well as with George Washington, and the Revolutionary War. Uh, we went on an investigation with Transcend Paranormal. Went home, reviewed all of our evidence, sent it to the director, Steve Dills, and he was really impressed with our captures. And he's like, "How would you guys like to go on another one? Kind of with the team, and let's see what you got."
Awesome.
And that was one of the first teams that we were actually invited to come on. I think truly because of our style and technique, and the seriousness that we put around it. So
Yeah.
it all kicked off from there, and we've been doing it ever since.
Awesome. I'm glad that that you guys had the wherewithal to talk about your loved one together as a family, and that you were able to kind of help him heal and move on to where he didn't feel like he had to be trying to get everybody's attention all the time.
Yeah,
That's
he's
really great.
bittersweet.
Yeah.
We like to have him around, but
Well, he's still there.
Yeah, I think he is. I don't
He's
think
still there. He just doesn't feel like he needs to get your attention all the time because he knows that you guys are okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, my
That was-
medium's coming out.
You're fine. That was just one of those special things that was, me and Lynn weren't married at that time. We were acquaintances. We were friends. We were going out every once in a while, but in between the course of that event happening and the course of us moving from Salem, Virginia, where we lived, to Raleigh, North Carolina, he was wherever.
Yeah.
I mean, he would be in the cab of the truck with my uncle who drove a tractor trailer, and he said he would sit in the truck with me, for 3 hours all the way to Nashville.
Yeah.
And I knew he was there. I could smell him. And I was like, I can smell it too. And it's like, what does it smell like? And I said, it smells like this. And he says, that's exactly what I smell. And
Wow.
the other one piped up and said, yeah, I smell it too. I mean, and then we all just kind of stared at one another and we're like, oh, okay.
Yeah. It's pretty amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Bree Marie, I believe he said he hasn't done any ghost hunting in Arizona, but he wants to. One day he would like to go do some Wild West ghost hunting.
You have all kinds of, you got invitations out to Arizona and Canada and all kinds of places.
Moonlight Maggie wants you to let her know about Canada.
Hey, look, one of the good things about it is we're so busy and gung ho right now, but our approach to this is a little different than others. We're doing this. We've been doing it, like I said, for 14 years. We've experienced a lot of things. Like, I don't know that there's much that we could experience and we could have happen and capture that would absolutely have us go like this. Short of seeing an apparition come in front of us and say, "Hey, I'm a ghost," but we haven't got that yet. But we're just enjoying the ride. Like I said, we're going together to these locations where she's like, "Hey, do you want to go to this location?" And I'm like, "Yes." Okay. And we'll rent it and we'll plan when we're going and we'll fly or travel or go and invite along people that want to come with us. And, like I said, we just drove 9 hours to Ohio to go to Ohio State, Reformatory. 8 hours up and back. So not many places. That's almost Canada, but yeah. So, if you guys have any recommendations, I'll tell you right now. If you look, go to Facebook, RVA Paranormal, hit us up, send us a message, let us know what you've got in your area because, we want to go, we want to travel, we want to experience everything we can. Look, right? I'm 50. I want to go and do as much as I possibly can. While I still can get up and down the stairs.
Yeah.
So send me a recommendation, sure.
Frosty, are you putting the link in there for the Facebook?
It is.
Yes.
Up.
And we also put the links in earlier for the YouTube. I believe I still have it. Mine. Yes. So there is their YouTube channel also where they have Piercing the Veil kind of podcast stuff. And also they have recordings of live investigations and highlight reels of EVPs and stuff. It's really cool stuff on there. So go follow both.
The YouTube's kind of young, so don't be surprised when you got there. We just started doing that. So
but there's a lot of stuff on there.
Yeah,
and I haven't been able to watch all of it yet, so clearly there's enough.
We appreciate that y'all could give us. And appreciate you
Yeah.
watching as well.
So what happened in Ohio?
Well, okay. Um, so Ohio was that's a big time. That was a big time bucket lister, right? We went up there with some great folks and investigated the Ohio State Reformatory. A lot of people will associate that with a couple of movies that were shot there. Um, Air Force One was they had some scenes that were shot there from the Russian prison scenes, and probably it's most famous as Shawshank Prison.
Oh,
Shawshank I
yeah.
think was shot there, and boy, they embrace that. Um, but the prison is beautiful. It's got 6 levels of of cell blocks, and the admin buildings where all the films were shot for Shawshank as well. But there was a lot. There's a lot there. Um, some of the great stories that went on there was actually a gentleman who was able to commit suicide. He somehow was able to get a flammable liquid into his cell and set himself on fire
Yuck.
with his cellmate in there.
Oh,
Right, and they
wow.
have that cell marked where everyone knows where it is. And of course, we immediately ran up there to do that first and got some great responses that kind of related to not only the individual that did that, but others giving us information about what it was like for them to experience that.
Oh, wow.
Um, but it, the chapel, um, and we're putting this together. There'll probably be a video here coming out in the next month or two on this as well on YouTube. But they have an old chapel that's still intact there, and we were able to begin doing a REM pod interaction with what we felt was a guard who had passed away, not there, but came back there because he felt he needed to be there to do his duty.
Mm.
Uh, and that that was an intriguing interaction because of the way that we were able to get it to respond with the REM pod on demand. And we're looking forward to sharing that with everyone. But the prison is beautiful. Look, and I will say this, and if anybody's watching that's been there or is interested in going, they treat you like royalty.
Oh, nice.
When you reserve the prison, all the snacks and drinks that you want are included.
Wow.
They order dinner for you. It's delivered to the prison and provided to you. And they're willing to go out of the way to make sure that you have everything you need and any questions that you have are answered, which is something that we haven't really experienced anywhere else on that
Yeah.
level.
Yeah.
But yeah, go check them out. That place is a great place to go, and it's it's something it's big enough that you can share that with others that are interested in it,
Yeah.
and never run into the same person. We had 6 or 7 teams in there, probably 10 or 12 people, and we hardly saw each other all night unless we really wanted to. But when you get spread out in there, you don't run into anyone.
Yeah, it's huge. Artsy Fartsy said her husband's from Mansfield, Ohio, and his aunt was a prison guard there when it was open. That's crazy.
Yeah, and think about it. I think it shut down in the '90s, so there's still a lot of ties in with the town, with people that work there and people that actually were incarcerated there. And
Yeah.
it started out, it was a reformatory, so there were just common, horse thief, pickpocket, people here that the state was really trying to reform. They were teaching them and giving them knowledge and skills and trade so that they could get out of prison and go function in society. And then it turned into a situation where overcrowding led it to begin housing some more maximum security
Mm,
folks.
yeah.
And when you start throwing, murderers and rapists in with pickpockets and and car thieves, it's not a good mix.
Yeah.
So
Definitely.
lot of good and it's a great place. I mean, if you don't go to investigate, at least go up there and give it a tour.
Sylvie said it sounds like her kind of place, but I think that was because they had snacks.
Yeah.
I tell you what, it went from a 4-star to a 5-star with me on snacks.
Yeah. All right,
So where do I make my reservations?
let's play one of these EVPs that you have.
Oh Lord.
Brie Marie's going to start cooking, so she's making
Brie
dinner
Marie's
for chat.
always cooking. Yes.
Yeah. And Artsy Fartsy says Bobby has been there many times. He has
stories to tell.
you.
All right, Bobby. Next time I see you, I want to
All
hear
right.
all the stories.
Someone asked if there's any good spots in Cali, and that the only thing that came to my mind I threw in chat was a cool place to go is Winchester Mystery House, but I don't know
What
if
is
you
that?
can do any
There's a ship.
investigations there.
The Queen Mary, right? Isn't the ship
Yeah.
in San Diego?
So
Yeah.
in my experience so far, I mean, I don't think there's anywhere you can go where you can't look. I don't know if John will agree with me on this, but if you want to find evidence of the paranormal, you don't have to go very far. I don't recommend anybody investigate their own house. And matter of fact, I would say don't investigate your own house.
Second.
But you can go almost anywhere I've tried. Me and Medium Ginny Lee have done EVP sessions. We've gotten almost, not every time, but almost every time we've gotten EVP. And so that's one thing that's kept me, like when we first started doing this stuff, was like doing it at our home. And I was like, man, what are we going to do if we start getting crazy EVPs in our own house? So don't investigate, go investigate your friend's house.
Go, yeah.
And
you guys, the spirit world is all right here with us.
yeah,
it's just right there. So like they're everywhere. And if you call, it's like the baseball Field of Dreams, right? If you call them, they're going to come. You know, if you build it, they will come. If you call them, they're there. So you don't really have to really be anywhere.
I always challenge people. I was like, just walk up to anybody, walk up to your neighbors, walk up, ask them, hey, you got any ghost stories?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, let me tell you, when I was a kid, blah blah blah, and they just tell you, right?
Yeah.
Everybody, I always say everybody's got a ghost story. Well, everybody's got a ghost story. They've experienced something in my mind.
Yeah.
And so I was growing up as a kid. I could tell you about things that occurred then while I was living in these houses were paranormal. I didn't know they were paranormal then.
Yeah.
But I do now. So I can honestly tell you, it's like, spirit is everywhere. I mean, you don't have to look real hard to find spirit. It might be a little more difficult to find spirits willing to interact with you.
Yeah.
But literally, you could walk down the street of Williamsburg and step into an alley and go, "Hey, is anybody here?" and probably get something.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But play with it, have fun with it.
And of course, different locations have different residual stuff because of things that have happened there, which is different than, intelligent spirits like hanging out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so you sent us 2 EVPs.
I did.
The first one that you sent us, the person says a name. Will you kind of walk us through where this one took place and what was going on?
Sure. I believe, and of course, it seems like we've been trying to get this stream going for a while.
Yeah, about 3 weeks, I think.
I believe the one that I sent you was from a place here local in Chesterfield County, which is south of Richmond, at a plantation called the Magnolia Grange.
Oh yeah, I know where that is.
That's our stomping grounds.
Yeah.
Our old stomping grounds.
Wicked haunted, by the way.
Wicked. It's wicked haunted.
Wicked haunted. But this was we did an investigation there. It was kind of like a paranormal one-on-one thing that some friends of ours are putting in with. And we were actually in the front parlor with a medium. And she was picking up on a certain name and said the name and then got corrected. So and I kind of set this up for you. Is like, believe it or not, I was the only guy there. I know it's hard to believe. There was me and 5 other females, one of which was the psychic. And so when you keep that in mind, I was the only male there, and I
Okay.
know I didn't say it,
Yeah.
and because I know what my name is. But
Yeah. All right, we're gonna play it.
All right, that way I can turn my volume up.
I got the name Daryl in my head.
Could you guys hear it? It's as loud as I can make it. Let's play it again. So it's a lady talking, and she says, I have this name in my head. I think she says Daryl. And then there's a whisper. So listen for the whisper at the end.
That makes sense to this. I got the name Daryl in my head.
All right, what'd you guys hear? Could you hear it? What did you hear? Tell us before we tell you. Put it in the chat. I'll play it again.
That makes sense to this. I got the name Daryl in my head.
Yeah. Put what you think it says in the chat if you can hear it.
I heard nothing. Hear it very faintly. It's probably hard to hear. You might need some.
Yeah.
Who's got their headphones on?
Yeah.
Who's got some earbuds? All right.
Although I'll say, I think I was just listening to it through my phone or through my
Yeah.
computer speakers, and I heard it.
Okay, Tiny Moonflower said, "Hey," I heard "hey" with a lot of Y's. Hey.
yeah,
Yeah, it's hard. It's gonna be hard to hear because it's as loud as I can make it on here. I'm gonna play it again. Here we go.
That makes sense to this. I got the name Daryl in my head.
Okay, Artsy Fartsy is the closest with "I am Kane" because he does say "I'm something," but it's not Kane. I'm gonna play it again, or this will be the last time, and then we'll tell you what it says, and we'll play it again.
That makes sense to this. I got the name Daryl in my head.
So he says, "I'm Dave." Dave, she was so close. It was a
Yeah.
DA name.
yeah,
So yeah, now we'll play it back and listen. And
Yeah.
I'm Dave.
So listen for "I'm Dave." I'm Dave.
That makes sense to this. I got the name Daryl in my head.
I'm Dave. Not Daryl. You guys thought he said he was in pain. No, he's just Dave.
yeah.
Which I love.
Dave, man.
It's Dave, man.
Dave's not home right now.
Yeah, more intriguing thing is, of course, she got the D part right. It started with a D,
Mhm.
and she was saying, this is weird. I've got this name Daryl in my head, and then it's just I don't know. I'm like I want to ask, and then you start asking, it's like, why do y'all whisper all the time?
I feel like it's like it's almost like they're having to talk through some sort of layer of something, because I have experienced one time a voice that I heard with my ears, and that's what it was. It was like a whisper that sounded like they were talking through something, like they were having to talk through the wall or something like that. And
Yeah.
it feels like that's why we hear it as a whisper, because it's like there's some kind of density or something between the veil of whatever, nobody knows what it is, but it's something that's like keeping their volume from being what it would be if they were just like with us completely.
Yeah, I think so. Or maybe it's just the way it comes over the recorder. Of course, now I've heard, it's weird. I don't hear disembodied voices or AVPs as whispers. I can hear them as someone talking.
Oh, you hear it, yeah. Yeah, see, the only time I've ever heard it was a whisper, like it is on the EVPs.
Yeah, EVPs are, who knows how it translates going over through a voice recorder.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that would kind of freak me out a little bit, especially because I was the only guy there.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like you. You have a very clear accent. Dude did not have a Southern accent.
Well, number one rule of paranormal.
Yeah.
Don't
Don't whisper, yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Bree Marie
And
said
it's
she
hard to
heard.
break. When you
Yeah.
first start investigating, when it gets dark and
Yep.
you want to whisper to people because you want to make a lot of noise, and it's the worst thing you can do because then when you go back and listen to tape,
Yeah.
everybody's whispering.
Yeah. Bree Marie said she heard a growl in her ear at her old house. Oh my goodness. Growls are always scary.
I don't like growls.
Yeah.
No.
Not at all.
Gosh darn it, Dave, speak louder.
And that location was unique because that's one of the only locations that I've ever actually been to that I've captured a full name.
Yeah.
I was able to research and to also provide to the historical society, and they were able to validate.
Oh, nice. So
It's
who
amazing.
was Dave?
I don't know who Dave was. But the interesting thing about Magnolia Grange was that it was a house that was, I don't know if it was like a boarding house or a halfway house or a stage stop, but there were people that would stay and go. So there was a lot of traffic through that house. So who knows who
Oh,
Dave
so
was?
Dave could have been anybody. I thought they had figured out who Dave was.
Well, no, it wasn't Dave. It was a little girl. There's a room upstairs that they call the little girl's room. So there's a
Mm-hmm.
little girl that stays in the room upstairs, and her name came across the recorder so clear that I didn't even capture it the first time I listened to the audio.
Mm-hmm.
It sounded like somebody standing next to me, and I went back and listened to it again, and the only person standing next to me was Lynn.
Mm-hmm.
Knew it wasn't Lynn, and I was like, and I called. And I was like, was there anybody there signed in for this event that had the name Julia? And they were like, no. Why do you ask? I was like, I got the name Julia McCoy.
Oh, wow, you
And
got a
they're,
last name too.
yeah.
Wow.
And I said, can you tell us your name? And it said Julia McCoy. Uh,
Wow.
Wow.
and then when I said the name, she's like, there's a McCoy Association here. Let me get back to you. And they were able to. She was a local girl that visited the house and was buried in Dinwiddie County.
Wow.
Um, but died as an adult. But for whatever reason, she was a child there.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Maybe
and
it must have made an impact on her.
yeah, Dave says
Yeah.
little girl, right?
Yeah, I'm Dave, says a little girl. Somebody had a
This
good
takes us right back
question.
around to what we were talking about earlier.
Yeah. Bree wanted to know what kind of recorder that you use. Or no, Linguist. Linguist asked, how did you even record that?
Okay. So I'm a bit of a audio video freak, right? I think I focus more on audio than I focus on anything else from an investigation standpoint, and I always try to match it with video. Just simply for the sheer fact that if somebody in the room says it, I want to know that. I want to be able to dispel that or debunk it. Be like,
Yeah.
oh, that was this person. I can see their lips moving.
Mm-hmm.
But I also want to get the reaction to see if anyone physically heard this, and it helps me associate a disembodied voice or AVP over an EVP.
Mm-hmm.
I use several different recorders. I've got this guy here, which probably is going to look familiar to everyone. The Zoom H4n. It's one of the ones that you'll see on television quite frequently. And this isn't a voice recorder. This is a mini recording studio. Uh, it's got 4 mic inputs, and it's very versatile. And the primary ones that I use are Olympus and Sony's. And they're just, they're your straight run of the mill, off the shelf, go to Best Buy recorders. And I tell people all the time, and if you go to our Facebook page, I've got one of the streams on there that's recorded that we are actually going over all of the recorders that we use and why we use them. So you can go check that out. But we have about 8 to 10 different models that we might use on any given time. And the reason why we do is just so that we can see we can capture the same thing over multiple devices. And surprisingly, no. What we capture on one device may not come up on another, which would kind of lead us into the fact that they are not necessarily transmitting or speaking in a in something that you can hear, but they truly are interacting with the device itself.
Mm-hmm.
And it just depends on where you're at in the room and what device you're holding and what that device might be capable of. We don't use the DR60s or anything like that. I think it's crazy to go and spend, $2,000-3,000 on a voice recorder when we use the Olympus and have, just as good of success with that.
Yeah.
But just experiment. I tell people all the time, like if you're wanting to get into the paranormal, don't buy this.
Yeah.
Um, this has noise canceling filters. It's wanting to, do studio quality recording. So a lot of the ceiling and the floor is gone, and that's where you capture a lot of your EVPs. Just Sony makes a good one. Olympuses are good, in that $40 or $50 range. I always look on Facebook to see if we can find some on Marketplace
Yeah.
for eBay.
That's a good
And we just
idea.
buy them and try them. If we don't like them, we're out $10.
Yeah.
But when we find something we like, we then can start buying as frequently as we can.
And
So it's
then,
just
if you just want to try it out and see what happens, you can always use the recorder on your phone too without having to purchase anything. Pretty much everybody's
yeah,
phone's got some kind of voice recording thing.
right, yeah,
Yeah.
and yeah, that's nothing to sneeze at. Like I said,
Mm-hmm.
we started out we recording on iPhone 3s and Battlefield
Yeah.
using the voice function of that. If they want to interact with that device, they're going to do it.
Yep. Use what you got, and then if you feel
Yeah.
like it's something you want to get into, you can start, upgrading and trying out different things.
It's interesting because there's been debates about EVPs. I don't know if you remember. We're similar age anyway. I don't know if you remember. There used to be a guy who has a radio show called Art Bell.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, and so I started listening to Art Bell when I was in high school, and when I got out, I worked graveyard security shifts. So like Art Bell was like my go-to for that. And he used to have a group on that did EVPs. And at this time we were just converting from analog to digital. And I
mhm.
remember a conversation they had about they like refused to switch to digital because they were pretty confident that digital wouldn't pick up EVPs, so they kept doing tapes. And then finally one night on their investigation, they did a digital, and they were like, "We were completely wrong. We actually got more EVPs with our digital than we did with our analog stuff." So, I
Yeah.
mean, just about anything you can go out there and use and pick. I think you might be surprised how quick you get something.
Nabnia, I'm not sure if there's a list with links, but here's a link to one of John's videos where he goes through his bag of paranormal goodies.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Awesome.
one of his YouTube videos. But John, do you know if there's any specific place that would have a list with links where you could go purchase something? Do you know of something like that?
Um, that there's lists that people have developed over time. I'll try to uh I'll tell you what I'll do. I will I'll get Lynn to bring up the Olympus that we commonly use. But like I said, on our page, on our Facebook page, we did a live stream. It might be on YouTube as well. That specifically we focused on going over all the voice recorders that we have um,
Awesome.
with video, where we explained what they are, price range, what we like about them, how to set them up, best settings for that. Um, but again, like I said, there's no magic to the recorder. And I always tell people it's like, any recorder will capture it.
Yep.
We've recently started playing around with the idea of using the old like 1980s cassette recorders
Mm-hmm.
with the mic plugged into it, and recording on the old magnetic tape. Um, but the like I said, the two most important things are to make sure you have you can control the noise canceling and the cut filter on the devices themselves, so that you're able to record the full spectrum of what that recorder is capable of doing, and getting into the low enough frequency to where you can capture these EVPs.
Well,
Good,
and
good
and
information.
just kind of bring along here when we with him talking about what devices you can use. I mean, Thomas Edison, was pretty confident that he was capturing or finding a way to communicate with the dead with the record player and all those kinds of his inventions
Hmm.
in the 1800s. So, I mean, it seems like ever since human beings have had the ability to start recording sound, there's been kind of like, hey, where are these voices coming from? Phenomena happening.
It's always been there.
Yeah.
So
So looking at chat a little bit, I think it was linguistics said something about setting up a recorder and just kind of letting it run for 24 hours. You could do that, uh, but remember, whatever you record, you have to go back and listen to.
Yeah. Do you want to listen to 24 hours of?
well, I tell you what, yes, you do.
You do.
If you've got the time, and especially if you're starting out. So when we used to go on investigations, I would carry static recorders, and of course this is why we have such a collection of recorders, is that we place static recorders everywhere and leave them locked up overnight. So then you have to think about it. You're going back and you're listening to 5 or 6 hours of the investigation audio,
Mhm.
and then another 4 or 5 hours of dead air. Where oh, here we go.
Thanks, Lynn.
Of dead air. But I will say this: you can browse through 5 or 6 hours of a static recorder in an empty building very quickly, because the EVPs are very easy to pick out.
Yeah.
You can actually see in the spectrum where you capture a noise, but the doors opening and closing and the footsteps are amazing whenever you have a completely controlled
Yeah.
environment.
That's true. I
Um,
guess if you're able to look at, the sound waves on the screen and see exactly where there is a noise, you don't
yeah,
have to actually listen to 24 hours.
exactly. And again, and that's something important too. Is I
Yeah.
always tell, we have people come up all the time and say we never capture anything, and I'm like, you talk all the time. Control your environment. Shut up. The quieter you are, the louder they. What I tell people.
John's
Yeah.
best advice of the evening. Shut
Uh,
Shut
up
up.
so that you can hear the ghosts.
it's really good advice, but no, control your environment. Control, especially when you're doing an EVP session.
Yeah.
Control it. Like you'll be amazed what you'll hear, and there will not be any questions about what you capture when you do.
Hmm.
Lynn
Excellent.
was gracious enough to bring in what our kind of go-to recorder, and the one that we recommend to everyone. This is an Olympus VN 7200. I'll put it in the chat. VN 7200. This is a great recorder. Lynn actually discovered this. She bought one, and it's one of these trial and error things. She bought one. We tried it. We had great success with it. And now every time we see one on sale, we buy it.
Awesome.
It is fantastic. It's good, clear, crisp audio, and for whatever reason, we capture great EVPs with this, and it's not going to bankrupt you. You can buy them new for around $40 to $60.
No, that's not bad at all.
You can pick them up used on eBay for like 10 to 20, and they're disposable. Like we've been using them so long that they break. You just and get another one. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not like you're throwing out a $200 recorder. This is just uh, a very available device. Tiny Moon, it is an Olympus digital voice recorder VN-7200.
All right.
And then Bree asked if you've ever gone live while ghost hunting. I know the answer to that. Yes, they have, because they've
Yeah.
put them up on YouTube. I know at least because I've watched one at the Belgrove Plantation.
Yes, we have, and then we stopped, and then we did it, and then we stopped.
Yeah.
And it's hard because it's like Twitch, right?
Mm-hmm.
To be successful, you have to engage with your audience. You have to
Yeah.
engage with chat, right? Um, when you're investigating, it kind of goes back to the shut up thing,
Yeah.
right? So we had good success early on with it, but people were getting mad at us because we wouldn't respond to
Oh,
them.
yeah.
Investigating. I can't talk to you while we're investigating. Um,
Chat, come on now.
but I know people. I know people love it, and I told Lynn the other day. I was like, we have to figure out a way. We have to figure out a way. So I think we did. I think it's going to cost us money.
Oh, yeah.
It
Mhm.
always does.
Yeah.
But when we can go to some of these locations where we do, and what we've started doing is one night is simply not enough. And I understand if it's costing you $1,200 to rent a location for a night, you have to get in and get out. I'm not going live at a place I'm paying that kind of money for.
Yeah.
But there are plenty of places out there where they'll cut you a break. Like if you get 2 nights in a row, they're kind of like, buy one, get one half off. So
Yeah.
Mansfield, well, not Mansfield, Madison. We went to Madison Seminary, and Adam Kimmel, who owns Madison and Fairfield, is a great guy, and he's got 2 very haunted active locations in Ohio, Fairfield and Madison. We got those places like 2 nights for $500.
It's not
Like
bad.
we went on a Saturday and Sunday, and Sunday's kind of like nobody rents it on a Sunday, so he just wants to get people in there.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna start kind of going into these places that we can go into 2 nights. Do one night of filming, investigating, and then the next night's just going to be kind of a chill, go live, walk around, kind of
Yeah.
engage people with it. So we haven't given up on it completely. It's just the logistics of it are hard. It's very hard to stream when your camera doesn't do IR night vision
Oh,
because
yeah.
all people are
Mhm.
doing are looking at a black
Yeah.
screen, which nobody wants to do, trust me. And I recognize that. And I always tell them, it's like, anything I do like that, I want to do quality. I want to do
Mhm.
it, enjoyable and do quality and put something good out there that people enjoy. So
Yeah.
we're working on it.
Yeah.
I've got a camera now that will actually let me live stream from the device as long as I got Wi-Fi. So we're going to start playing around with that a little bit more and hopefully be able to bring some more of that.
Yeah, it's all about tweaking and trying different things and figuring out what works and what doesn't. I'm still doing that with Twitch. What works and what doesn't. There's the kitty.
We're always upgrading technology.
There's a kitty
Yeah.
tail. Kitty time.
He likes to be on
Tiny,
camera.
Tiny Moonflower said you have to have a home base, and that home base reminded me of Phasmophobia.
Yeah.
So you need a van guy.
You need the van guy.
Look,
I'm good at being the van guy.
Frostshine will be the van guy for you.
I told Lynn, I was like, all the time, I was like, you know how much money we'd save if we had an RV on hotel rooms?
Yeah.
I mean, she ain't buying it.
Not yet. Not yet.
You can have like a whole little command center in there.
Yeah.
You'll be good to go.
You
And
keep working on her, John. She'll get there eventually.
And then people like me can stay in there and watch for orbs.
Yeah.
I'm looking for orbs. Hey, you guys go investigate. I'll watch the cameras. Yeah.
Home bases are very important, and she actually brings up a good point. When you go to these places, set up a home base, set up a location with the lights on that you can go to, and if you start feeling uncomfortable or mood starts to change, which are all things that you kind of have to keep an eye on, not just for yourself but others as well, and hopefully they're looking out for you. But there have been several times that I've had to walk out of a room, leave a building, and just go somewhere and just kind of ground yourself and center, take a deep breath before you go back in, kind of removing yourself from a situation. And having a base camp or home base set up somewhere in the building that you're not investigating is always important.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So we have another EVP to play.
All right.
All right.
And do you remember the one that you sent us? Maybe.
Maybe.
It's something with feathers. That will,
Oh.
yes. So set that one up for us.
All right. I'll tell you everything I can.
Okay.
So this was a private. So we're under a non-disclosure with the
Oh, yeah.
home.
Only tell us what you can then.
But I can tell you that this was a plantation
Okay.
that was built in I want to say it's like 1737 ish. Never been investigated before. It was a public house. And the people that owned it they knew some stuff was going on, but they were skeptical. But there was a hole in the basement. So when they moved in, they used to have a root cellar in the basement where they would store goods. The root cellar was filled in and covered up. In an attempt to kind of get it back to the way it was in the early 18th century, they decided to dig out the root cellar. And as they started going through the layers, they found like the old paver floor from when the root cellar was, filled in, and it became the winter kitchen and servant quarters. They dug all that up, and then they continued to dig down the walls of this root cellar. So what they ultimately ended up with was a giant hole in their basement. And one of the people that we were with brought a dream catcher that she had purchased, and simply asked the question, what color are the feathers on the dream catcher? Is what she essentially asked. And then we captured that EVP. Actually, we captured that EVP on this recorder I shared with you earlier.
Oh, the Olympus.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to play it.
All right.
Could you please tell me what kind of feathers they are?
All right, could you guys hear it? I'm going to play it again. So the lady asks, could you tell me what kind of feathers they are? And then there's a voice.
Could you please tell me what kind of feathers they are?
Okay, we got blue, black, green, black. I'm going to do it again.
Could you please tell me what kind of feathers they are?
It does say a color, so you guys are on the right track here. It says black. People who said black.
Artsy's on it, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Little wing, artsy. Black. So let's play it one more time now that you know that it says black so you can hear it.
Could you please tell me what kind of feathers?
There, but
It does. It actually says black feathers.
Yes. The black is very distinct and the feathers is a little quieter. All right, so listen to it again.
They are?
Black feathers. It's so cool.
Yeah. Now, that location is probably one of the most haunted locations that I've ever been to.
Wow.
And the amount of evidence we set up a reveal with the homeowners, and the man of the house, the gentleman, sat back at the end of the investigation and was like, I can't believe it. I can't believe it. I mean, we got everything we got children laughing. And probably the craziest thing, and I wanted to send this to you so bad, it just wasn't loud enough to be able for it to actually translate on the stream, was the homeowner was sitting on the couch in the piano room, and I was sitting at the piano bench, and John Sullivan with Fredericksburg Paranormal Research and Investigation was sitting in the chair, and the gentleman said, "Why don't you come sit on the couch beside me?" And we got an EVP of a male voice saying, "I already did."
Oh.
And I played that back for him, and you could just see the color drain from this homeowner's face. And he had a job with an organization that had 3 letters in it, and that's all I'll say.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Did you mess with these?" And I'm like, "No. As a matter of fact, here's a thumb drive with all the evidence. You take this to work with you and do your thing." And he was absolutely flabbergasted at the amount of stuff that we captured in that house.
Wow.
And none of it was bad. None
Yeah.
of it was malicious or ill intent. He knew something was there. I mean, he called us. It was just one of those situations where they were so intelligent, and it's almost like they wanted for so long for someone to come and talk to them and to tell them how much they loved this house and how they had preserved it and restored it back to the way it was. And they took full advantage of sharing and answering questions for them and for us. And she was a little more like, "I don't like what's going on here." By the time that we had left, she was much more comfortable knowing that, the spirit that was there and has been there for hundreds and hundreds of years, and they
Yeah.
weren't going anywhere, and they were completely happy that they were there as well.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that place was.
Sounds pretty
Mm.
cool.
How? Just out of curiosity, how many EVPs do you have like saved up? Do you think?
So you'd have to kind of classify them. They typically classify EVP into 3 classes. There's a class A, a class B, and a class C. A class A EVP is one that where I could play it for you, and we're all going to agree that it says the exact same thing.
Mm-hmm.
There is no question what's being said. The black feathers was probably a high B, simply because I mean people in chat did get it, but some didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And I really kind of strict on the class A classification. So if I play you something and you tell me exactly what I think I heard in everyone that I've asked up to this point, if you took a poll, would know exactly and say it says the same thing. Class B is that you can make it out. Some people hear other things, but they're all pretty close to what's being said. Class C is simply your noises that you can't explain, or words that you know that they're words. You can hear the syllables, but you cannot for the life of you make it out what it is. It's
Yeah.
just,
We've gotten some of those.
Yeah, there's something there.
There's
but
something,
yeah.
but you just can't tell what it is.
I would say, yeah, I probably have over 100 Class B EVPs, and because of the scrutiny I put through a Class A, I've probably got maybe 15 or 20.
That's still really
Wow.
good.
That's
Yeah.
that's really interesting because
So-
I feel like, especially from Bree Marie here, we have. I think people might want an EVP night. So.
Yeah.
Well,
All right,
so
John, you're gonna
you
have to come back and just knock them out and do EVP after EVP.
You can do it again. Like I said, I mean, a lot of the Class Bs are really great, and I love to have fun with those because people can understand that they're saying something.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm Dave was a to me that was a B. It was a B plus plus.
Yeah.
But a lot of the Bs that I have are just that, and like I said, I've got tons of those, and we could sit here and play EVPs all night, and people could speculate and tell us what they hear. But like I said, the Class A's are the ones that that are special. I mean,
That's
those are the
interesting.
ones that you really know that there's something there. You understand what they say. The little girl saying, "I'm Julia McCoy," A.
Yeah.
But yeah, we could certainly I could play tons and tons and tons.
Well, I won't put you on the spot, but we'll talk about it later. We have spooky season right around the corner.
Yeah.
So that could be a fun night. And I
Mhm.
think
Yeah. Yeah, I think what I probably have to do is just bundle a bunch of stuff to you guys and send it to you and let you decide what you want to play.
yeah, and I even have let me know like if you I have a bunch of recording software for like play, for recording music. So if like we need to up levels and stuff, we can. But yeah, we can talk about that later. But
Yeah,
um,
and
yeah,
that's a
that's
good
really
point.
interesting.
So nothing that y'all played tonight, by the way, was enhanced or changed anyway. That's
Okay, and
the
that's
raw.
important to know.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when I've heard them people do shows like this before with EVPs, they'll play the raw, like this is the way it came out the recorder,
Mhm.
and then they'll have like just the EVP, like they'll just take the levels up, and then you can hear it with the levels up as well. So, but yeah, I think that'd be really awesome. And I can see how some people would say, hey, an a class EVP, everyone can agree on it. But I think there's like you said, I think there's the B's and C's even because even if you can't agree with what it's saying, I think you can still agree in the fact that somebody's saying something. That's a
Mhm.
human voice that shouldn't
Yeah,
be there making a noise it shouldn't be making.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and they are, but like I said, it's important. Like I said, I geek out on audio video. It's important to me. I want people to hear what comes off that recorder. Now, if they want to take it and run it through analysis and do all this to clear it up, people are welcome to do that. Um, but the evidence that I'm put out,
Yeah.
I do not want it tampered with in any way. And it's something that's really hard to deal with as a paranormal investigator is the amount of times people will call you a fake.
Mhm.
100%.
Yeah.
You're faking this. There's no way. You're fake, fake.
Yep.
And I was like, brother, it doesn't take $3,000 worth of paranormal investigating equipment to fake something.
Yeah.
No.
Right? Look at what I've got. I mean, either I'm nuts or you're nuts
Yeah.
because there's no way I'm buying all the equipment and recorders, the 4K cameras, and $300 recorders. Got here and fake something that I could probably do on my phone.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. For sure.
you're out of your mind. So
Yeah.
but at the same time, I want the evidence that RVA Paranormal is putting out, and that's why we don't put out a lot.
Mhm.
Is because when you put something out like that, it's like UFO footage or Bigfoot footage.
Oh
If
yeah.
even if somebody does capture a Bigfoot or a UFO, and it is groundbreaking evidence that there is 100% proof that these things exist,
Mhm.
you put it out to the community, they will destroy you
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
Yeah.
because just because they don't believe it or they don't want to believe it or they think it's faked. So I'm very cautious about what I put out. Um, but I do as well want to share, what we do capture.
Well, I
Uh,
think I think for your credibility, I mean, I think that's the best thing you can do. Because if you don't have credibility in that field, then you don't have anything. So just
Yeah.
releasing that raw footage and everyone kind of knowing that that person has, and with the ghost shows that come on now, there's shows that have credibility and there's shows that don't have credibility and stuff like that. And if you lose your credibility, what else you have left? I mean, I've
Mhm.
watched videos of UFOs landing in New York and it looks like as real as you could possibly make it. And it's just some guy at home with some video editing software making like a Hollywood level, UFO movie. So you have to kind of know that the person that you're getting the information from is legit and is out there to release
Mhm.
real evidence.
Yeah.
Is actually investigating it for the right reasons.
yeah, and it's one of the like I said, it's tough to swallow, but it's one of the things that me and Lynn have kind of learned to combat because we always tell people it's like when we put something out, we're like, this is what we captured. You can I'm not trying to prove to anyone, and I never will try to prove to anyone one way or the other that paranormal exists
Yeah.
or that ghosts exist. I'm more of a this is what we captured. You decide. You make the call what you think it is. I'm not going to try to change your mind, but certainly don't try to change your mind. And especially when you're doing things like YouTube, like the Battleship North Carolina video that we put out, there was a lot of things that were going on during that investigation, sounds and things like that. Um, and I always just tell people what I think it is. It sounded like a bulkhead door, or did you hear that whistle? and things like that, and not to try to say, oh yeah, that was 100% a ghost. I mean,
Yeah.
because one of the things that we want to do is people. I want to capture when we do these videos and recordings, Lynn and myself or whoever we're with, raw reaction. And I think that that's what's important is how are we reacting to what's going on around us.
Mm-hmm.
We'll share it if that is genuine. And we've all seen like the UFO footage where the guy's in the front yard with his camera and he's recording this massive ship like 20 feet off the ground coming towards his house, and he's oh my gosh, look at that, that's incredible. No, that was happening, he would be shitting his pants, running with the camera facing behind him to try to capture what was going on.
Yeah.
But so you can kind of differentiate between what's faked and what's not simply by the reaction, and that's
Mhm.
kind of what I try to capture as well. Not just the evidence, but my reaction to hearing that playback.
Yeah. All right, so we have some chat questions.
All
One
right.
from Tiny Moonflower. What are growls considered?
Um, that's a good question, and it's a tough one to answer.
Why the hell are spirits growling at people? What the hell's going on there?
Well, that's something we kind of haven't gotten into tonight, and we
Yeah.
delved into it a little bit with the children, but I guess kind of I'm gonna lead Tiny Moonflower's question here a little bit, and kind of add in there. Do you think you've ever investigated and found evidence for something that wasn't maybe just what we would consider a ghost or a deceased person?
From something of a okay. So growls. It can be something that is ill-tempered.
Mm-hmm.
There's an old saying, and I guess I never cleared if cuss words were allowed. This one isn't really bad, but
Go for it.
asshole in life, asshole in death.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Right? If you were just an ornery, mean person in life,
Mm-hmm.
you're probably going to be an ornery and mean person in death. But that
Yes.
doesn't mean you're a demon, right?
No. Just means you're an
So,
asshole.
so let's say this. So let's say that you go to a location where they have been asked 100,000 times what their name is,
Mm-hmm.
and he goes, you know,
Mm-hmm.
that question again. Oh my god.
Not this again. Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, it growled at us and said, oh my god. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah, it's true.
it could be that. It could be. I mean, it could just be that they don't want you around, and oh, I'm going to pull the old Casper thing, and I'm going to try to scare them out of here.
Yeah.
You know,
Hmm.
um, I don't know. I think that that's probably going to be one of the questions, and you ask yourself this: is if somebody is sitting there in your face asking you the same questions over and over and over again,
Mm-hmm.
are you going to get frustrated? Are you going
Yeah.
to want to leave? And maybe that's just a way for them to do that. You know, investigation, not interrogation, is wise words.
Yeah.
Don't go into investigations asking the same thing. How old are you? What's your name?
Mm-hmm.
Color's the sky? How did you die? You know, treat them as you would want to be treated in life, and they're liable to interact with you the same as
Yeah.
we're talking tonight,
They're
just
still a
through
person. Yeah.
conversation. We get much more responses that way.
Mm-hmm.
As far as the elephant in the room that you said, demonic. There's only been one situation that I've been in uh, where I felt like I was dealing with something that was simply not good. Um, and it was in no way, shape, or form attacking us. I just knew that it wasn't something that we wanted to deal with. And it was at a location that we investigated several times, and this had never happened before. I feel like it was brought in by someone, and I mean, we chased it. We really did. And I will tell you right now, the the sulfur smell, the brimstone smell that everybody associates with that is 100% a real thing.
Yuck.
But it's a little bit different than somebody cutting wind.
It's not a fart smell.
It is not, it is not a fart smell. Um, and it started off kind of like that. And I don't know that you could say, like, have you ever been to Florida in the summer after a rainstorm and the sulfur is coming out of the ground? It's kind of like that,
Yeah.
magnified 10 times.
Oh,
And
yuck.
I tell people all the time, it's like this was if you were to strike a match and blow it out and then go,
Yeah.
right? It was tinging. It was so potent. And it was there and then it was gone. And then you'd walk up the stairs and there it was again. And it was irritating. And it would dissipate. And we followed this all the way through the building to a door that it was behind. And one of the investigators walked up and was like, boom, boom, are you in there? And we got back
Mm.
from a locked door. And I was like,
Wow.
yeah, we need to just let this go its way and we need to go our way.
Yeah.
But I always tell people, I was like, trust me, if there is a demon messing with you, he's not going to talk to you through EVP.
Yeah.
Like,
Mhm.
you're going to know it. They do their intention is not to mess with you in that type of way. Their intention is to mess with you on an emotional level. And they're going to
Yes.
tear at your psyche, at your feelings, at your mind, at your emotions. Um, and they don't want you to know what they're doing. And
Mhm.
Yes.
they want to do what they're doing until they get to the third stage of possession, at which point you're calling the old priest and the young priest.
Which is the kind of the thing with the child's voices earlier is like there's like kind of this whole like it not wanting you to know what it really is before. And I hope I almost didn't even want to ask the question because that stuff has become so sensationalized. And I know in a lot of circles, like it's like everything's a demon, everything you get is a demon, and it just becomes every
Mhm.
investigation, every voice you hear is a demon. And I don't want to get on that path, but it is something I think that I'm always curious to hear about. Like, have you had that kind of experience, yet to get your
Yeah.
story from it? So
I mean, one time, and again, like I said, I didn't hang around long enough to find out what it was.
Yeah.
I mean, because that's one of those situations where I felt like this is not to be messed with,
yeah,
and I'm not going to. This and you need to know what you're prepared to do and what you're not prepared to do when you go into these investigations. And you need to stick to your guns. Where if you get into a situation, that's the first thing that they'll look for is weakness,
Mhm.
mm,
right? If you go in and you're scared and you're weak, they'll expose that. I firmly believe that.
Yeah.
Um,
I I've
and
had two I've had two experiences, John, and I won't talk about them tonight. Maybe if we do another show down the road, I can tell you my stories. But yeah, in both of those experiences I've had, neither of them would I say was at a time I wanted to try to break out an EVP session. It was a
yeah,
get the hell out of this place moment. So
Yeah.
yeah. If they want to get you, they're going to get you. And your emotions and your senses and your gut, you know, is is your best tool. Like, don't hang around. If something's telling you to leave, you should probably leave, and don't poke the bear, right?
Mhm.
But also hold it to a higher understanding that um, they're not going to interact with you through recordings and play nice with you and pretend like they're something they're not. They're going to follow you. They're going to find your weaknesses. They're going to affect you in a way that affects you and everyone around you, and then they're going to make you uh, depressed, angry, voices in your head, you know kill your dog type stuff, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Mhm.
yeah,
going to drive you to that, and that's not something that happens overnight. That's something that progresses over time, and they really
yes.
dig to eat at you. But don't put yourself in that situation, and always keep your wits about you, and always keep an eye on the people that you're with, because you're their eyes as much as they're your eyes, and
Mm-hmm.
been called out plenty of times where they're like, you're acting yourself, and then like light bulb, and it's like, you know what, you're right. I'm not acting like myself. I think I'm just gonna step away and go outside
Yeah.
or remove myself from this. Um, but yeah, so it is. It's thrown around. It's thrown around a lot unnecessarily, and it scares a lot of people. And
Yeah.
I always tell people, I was like, before you go throwing that word out, you better make darn sure you know what you're doing, especially if you're dealing with a private case where someone scared to death asked you to come into your house, and the first word out of your mouth is, "There's a demon here."
Yeah.
You're not helping anyone.
No.
No,
Point.
no,
Yeah. Just
So,
gonna make it worse. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, well, that's what I was saying. It's like one of those things I almost hesitate to ask, but at the same time, it is an interest. So it's just like something is like, I want to get the information without like turning it in, having to have a whole conversation
yeah,
about
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Bree
Um,
wanted to know if you have an SLS camera that this makes the stick figures.
I do.
Yeah, yeah.
oh, cool.
Yeah.
Do you guys get stuff on there?
Not as much as others.
Yeah.
But again, um, common sense when you're using that device.
Mm-hmm.
It uses a Kinect camera from an Xbox. And when the first thing you do is when I know there's a lot of gamers out here. First thing you do, you open your Xbox and you hook a Kinect to it, is you got to calibrate it to the room.
Yeah.
And every time you unhook it and you hook it back up, guess what? You got to calibrate it to the room.
Mm.
And now you're walking around with this thing on a stick, moving it around the room.
Yeah.
And it's designed to map on anything. So we do use it, but we calibrate it to the room and then we use it as a static device
Yeah. Leave it still. That makes
and,
sense.
and record. So once it's calibrated to the room, we know if it maps on something that there's a better chance that it actually is something that's trying to uh, make itself known through the camera or mask,
Mm-hmm.
and not something where you're spinning around and it sees the vacuum cleaner and it
Yeah.
maps. So, but again, it's like I don't dog any equipment.
Yeah.
You will never hear me say that this is crap and it shouldn't even be used and da da da. Always take the posture of paranormal. We in paranormal investigate. It's fun. We should have fun. We should take it seriously. But I'm not the one to tell you what what equipment is good and what equipment is bad. If
Yeah.
you love an SLS camera, use an SLS camera. Um, Scrutinize it. Try to use it correctly. And I say correctly from a calibration standpoint, try using it as a static device every once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
It as opposed to walking around with it. Same thing with the spirit boxes and things like that. You know what it is and what it isn't. So, but yeah, we've got one,
Cool.
and it's sitting right over there as a matter of fact.
Sylvie wanted to know if a spirit's ever turned the tables and started interrogating you instead.
That's a good one. Been asked any questions?
Yeah.
I've been asked, "Who are you?"
Oh, yeah.
And I've been asked, why are you here?"
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
But that's about the extent of it.
Yeah.
Because one of the things that I always do is I always ask them, do you have a question or do you have a message for me at the end of these sessions? And it's pretty cool, some of the things that you'll get, like, why are you? Who are you?
Yeah.
Even, are you such and such? Or
Oh.
where are you? And that's one of the things that people are kind of turning out now is like, one of the questions that we often ask are they haunting us or are we haunting them?
Yeah. Like that
So,
movie. What's the movie? Nicole Kidman.
yes.
Yeah.
The others.
The
Yeah,
others.
yeah.
Yeah.
But we're listening and trying to see them. Are they doing the same back? Like, are they in their world going like, we're hearing that?
Yeah.
What's that voice?
Yeah.
Who the heck is that?
Who the hell is this John guy? Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, I've been asked who am I and things like that. So
Let's see. Linguists asked, "What do y'all think about exorcisms?"
um,
That's
well,
a
I'm Catholic.
whole topic on itself, right there.
Yeah.
Lynn and myself are Catholic, so Catholicism is one of the few religions that actually believes in exorcisms.
Yeah.
So much to the fact that you have to be an ordained priest who specializes in exorcisms in order to do one.
Mm-hmm.
Be any priest off the street. Um, but I believe that there are things in this world, as we talked about earlier, that sometimes need to be kept into check. Um, and I believe that it's not as common as a lot think.
Mm-hmm.
But the Catholic Church has a lot of strict beliefs around um, demons and exorcism. One of those is an object can't be possessed. That an object can't be unless it has a soul, it cannot be possessed. So we hear a lot of things about demons on dolls, demons and things. The Catholic Church believes that that's impossible.
Mm-hmm.
Good example of that is the Hinsdale, where Ed and Lorraine Warren
Hmm.
performed an exorcism, a failed exorcism. Actually there was two. And they said the first one, I believe Daniel told me correctly, was the first one was a blessing of the house, which failed. The second one was an exorcism of the house, which the Catholic Church was reluctant to do because of the fact that a house has no soul. There's no way it could possibly be possessed by a demonic soul. But they did it anyway. So maybe that's why it failed, or why they say it failed. The church might have listed it as failing or not. But I do believe that that attachments can occur and they can be blessed away. It may not take a full um, exorcism.
Mm-hmm.
If it gets to that point, I believe you're in stage 3, and it's you better call your loved ones type thing, because shit's about to get real.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you know, blessings, saging, things like that, to relieve attachments, grounding, um, for spiritual attachments. If you believe that, then you have to kind of, in the back of your mind, believe that it is possible that demons do exist, and they're not a force to be dealt with.
Yeah.
Um, that's interesting. You hit on a couple things there that go all the way back to my high school days. One, once again, bringing up old Art Bell and his interview, a couple interviews he did with, I don't know if you're familiar with this person. He's deceased now, but Father Malachi Martin, um, who I thought was probably the preeminent, one of the preeminent specialists on exorcisms, and of course his connection to the Catholic Church. And he described that stage 3 that you're talking about as like being perfectly possessed, where people were possessed, but they were no longer showing signs of being possessed because they had been completely taken over.
Mm.
Um,
Yikes.
and of course, he has a connection to the original story that kind of turned into the movie The Exorcist. Um, so yeah, that was interesting when you talked about that part. And then Ed and Lorraine Warren,
Mm-hmm.
who I started reading some of their books when I was in high school, and of course they're famous, really famous now from all the Conjuring movies.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean they had, I mean, yeah, well, and that brings like Annabelle and all that stuff. Like, can Annabelle be possessed if it's a inanimate object, if it doesn't have a soul?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's interesting things that we could talk about for sure
Yeah,
down the
so I
road.
believe I think things can attach to objects.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean that they're demonic.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know, like I said, it doesn't need to be nice to
yeah,
you know, so and and it's like I said, it's important to also know your boundaries. And I said this earlier, is like if I walk into somewhere and they say I've got a demon, be like, I'm not your guy,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I will try to either, you know, to tell you it's not, but if I sense that yes you do, I'm not going to be able to help you past that point that's out of my range,
Yeah.
you know.
Well,
And I tell people all the time for privates because you know we almost got to the point to where we stopped doing private investigations because next thing you know you
mhm.
do it and you're like, yeah, you've got some stuff going on here. It's like, well, I want it out. I was like, I don't specialize in eviction.
Yeah.
You know, I'm
Well,
not.
we had an experience similar to that when we were part of the group that we investigated with. We received a communication from someone who wanted us to investigate their house, and because they were already confident that their house had a demon in it, and they wanted us to investigate it, and we refused that investigation just for that reason, because you're putting yourself in a situation where the person already thinks they know what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So if you already know that it's a demon, why do you need us to investigate to tell you it's a demon? Second of all, if we go there and find out from our evidence, if we gather evidence to say that it's not a demon, then we're not going to change your mind, probably. And thirdly, if it's nothing and that person is having some, maybe some mental health issues and needs to see someone in the medical field, we're not qualified to make that recommendation. So you're really setting yourself up for failure no matter which way that goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, linguist had a good point there. Is it's crazy that some people can actually get possessed, and what triggers these possessions. You know, inner demons are a terrible thing. Um, but I believe a lot of these possessions are brought on by yourself. A lot of hauntings are as well. The
Mm-hmm.
energy that you emit and opening yourself to, you know, certain things can create hauntings and can leave you very exposed.
Yeah.
And that's something I've experienced myself
Yes.
and something I had to realize. It's like if you're ticked off and mad on your way to an investigation, don't go until you feel better.
Mm-hmm.
Because like I said, a negative entity or something that's wanting to manipulate you sees that as a weakness. When you're already angry, it's halfway there. And I always tell people, it's like, make sure you're in a good state of mind before you go on investigations. Make sure that your energy is pure.
Mhm.
But I also believe that when you drop your guard or you open yourself up to depression or things like that, that you're welcoming, you're just making it that much easier to be welcome. And I'm not saying that those types of things mean a demon is going to possess you, but we've been to a lot of places where a lot of the hauntings that occur because of an individual, and as soon as that individual is out of the house, it stops. And as soon as that
Mm-hmm.
person comes back, it's back. And as soon as that person moves to another house because they think the house is haunted, guess what?
It's right
It's not
there
the
with
house.
them. Yeah. Yep.
and that's a completely different type of haunting that no one can help you with but yourself. You know, you've got to close those doors.
Yep.
Well, guys, do you have any other any
Bree,
questions that you had that were big ones, medium, Jenny Lee?
I think that John said they've been ghost hunting for about 16 years. Is that right, John?
Yeah.
Going on about 14 years.
14. Okay. Let's see. I did have a whole bunch of questions, and I think that most of them got answered as
Okay.
we went through.
Because I think we have probably another 2 hours of conversation we could have, but we've hit the 2 hour mark, so I don't want to.
So I think for me, maybe we could wrap it up with this. So you just got to go to one of your dream investigation places. But what's next? What is like the place that you really want to go investigate? Even if it's not even possible, like where would you want to go? What's your dream investigation?
I'm a big history guy, and I tell it all the time. And I think we're going to put this on our big bucket list. Is going to be either Ireland or the UK.
Oh yeah.
So I want to do like a paranormal vacation where we go to the UK and investigate some castles and
Mm-hmm.
strongholds, and and some of like the catacombs. I mean,
Yeah.
just even if nothing goes on, they're just some really cool places
Mm-hmm.
to visit. But
Bring an extra suitcase, and I'll squeeze in and go with you guys.
local, like I said earlier, I would love to get out to like Arizona and Oklahoma and
Mm-hmm.
some of the old Wild West ghost towns and investigate there, because it's completely different than what we're dealing with here on the East Coast.
Yeah,
For sure.
different kind of history for sure. Yeah, I think we're gonna have to have John back because a lot of people had more questions. They wanted to hear some more EVPs. And so yeah, John, if you're willing to come back, maybe you can come around Halloween time, and we'll do some more ghost
Absolutely.
talk.
Anytime. Appreciate y'all.
Awesome. Yeah.
Excellent. I'm gonna throw the links in here once again in chat.
Mm-hmm.
So the links to the RVA Paranormal on Facebook and to RVA Paranormal Piercing the Veil on YouTube. And so make sure you guys go check those out. Give them a like, a subscribe. Check out those videos. I had a blast. I definitely am going to watch more. I got to the USS Constitution, North Carolina, and got through some other ones, and they're great because they're not like crazy long. And what I've watched, it's a lot of really good content in there to watch.
Appreciate
So
that.
Yeah.
go check them out.
And remember, next time you guys need a medium, and you're not going too far away, you know who to call.
Yeah. Can I do another plug real quick?
Yeah, as many as you want.
Yeah. So, one of the things we do is we also do filming and investigating for a streaming series called The Twisted Realm, which is on Paraflix right now.
Okay.
So if you go to Paraflix and you Google that, it's a paranormal streaming service, reasonably priced. I think it's less than $5 a month. I think it's like $3.99 or something like that. There's a lot of great shows out there. Twisted Realm is out there. Ghost Finders is actually streaming on there now. It is a streaming platform dedicated strictly to content creators and independent series makers who go to these locations and share their investigations. So Paraflix, and then check out the Twisted Realm series.
Cool. We put the link in there for that and typed out the names. People can look that up too.
Awesome.
And yeah, everybody loved you, John. And they want you to come back.
Great.
So
Go back.
yeah. All right.
Excellent. Sounds good.
Well, everybody,
everybody,
thank you for watching. We had a lot of viewers tonight, a lot of great questions, a lot of commenters. Some people I didn't get to say hello to. You guys know who you are. You know I love you. I'll be back on tomorrow night at 8 o'clock to do our reading night. As long as nothing crazy happens this time, I should be here tomorrow to do all those.
I'll drive tomorrow.
Yeah, do all those team weird medium readings for you guys. So we'll be back tomorrow night.
And we're going to have another Witching Hours right around the corner.
Real soon with Charity Janice.
We're going to have Charity Janice on here, and she has a lot of fun stuff planned for doing, like, maybe it's like all of us doing some card pulls and doing some interesting stuff with that. So
really weird stuff. It'll be team weird emotes the whole night. Yeah. All right, everybody. Yeah. Thank you for watching. Love you guys. See you tomorrow.
Thanks a lot.
We'll have John back again soon. All right, so John, you stay put. We're going to end the stream and talk to you again for a couple minutes.
Okay, we got to figure out who we're going to raid, right?
Oh, yeah, find a raider. Who we raiding?
Let's see. Who we got? Give me 1 minute.
Okay.
See, I'm the mod too, so I should have been checking this out before,
I know.
I was too entranced. I was too entranced what we had going on here.
I was almost forgetting that we need to raid somebody. There's a lot of people in here. We definitely need to raid somebody.
Let's see who we got.
I'm glad you guys enjoyed the show. Thanks for watching and hanging out.
Let's do Odin's Eye Tarot. I've wanted to raid him a couple times, and
you haven't? All right, well, let's do it now.
Yep.
You typing it in?
Yeah, I got it.
Raid good. Because I was waiting on you.
Tarot.
All right, everybody. Love you. Good night.
Bye, y'all. Appreciate it.